I'm grateful for the opportunity to discuss the new piece of legislation. I've listened with interest, Chair, to all of the contributions made by members from all sides of the House. I think we had almost 20 TDs speaking on this today, and I appreciate it, as I'm sure Minister Foley does too. And as Minister for Special Education and Inclusion, I'm committed to making a difference for students who have special educational needs as part of an inclusive education system. Children with special education needs should be supported to access the education system, and as a government we fully recognise the importance of an inclusive and all-embracing education system, and never is it more important than in the case of children with special educational needs. And I fundamentally believe that our most vulnerable children in society must be prioritised, and I've made it clear that I believe every single school should provide special education provision, and that is where we need to get to as a society. And I know that we're not there yet, and that is the reality facing some families in this country at the moment, but that is where we must get to, and I believe we will get there because we have to, as there's no other option. Government policy on supporting children with special education needs aims to ensure that all children with SEN can have access to an education appropriate to their needs, and our policy is to provide for inclusive education and to ensure the maximum possible integration of children with special needs into ordinary mainstream schools, and where pupils require more targeted interventions, special class or special school placements are also provided. This year, the Government will spend in excess of €2 billion, or over 25% of the entire Department of Education's budget, on providing additional teaching care supports for children with special education needs, and that represents an increase of over 60% in total expenditure since 2011. Where that money goes, it goes to increasing the number of special education teachers and SNAs. And again, I'd like to thank them for all the work that they have done throughout the school year in teaching, caring for children with additional needs. And it also goes, of course, to increasing special classes, and these classes are vital in supporting the development and potential of children with special educational needs. But the budget also goes into supporting special schools, and visiting these schools is an important part of my job. And I also want to take the opportunity to discuss the recent progress in opening new classes in Dublin. In addition to the figures provided earlier over the last few weeks, there's an additional 8 primary schools who have agreed to open special classes for September. So that has reduced the number of children requiring a special class placement in Dublin from 80 to 56. But we know that there will be more placements coming on stream, we hope, over the next number of weeks. The NCSE estimates that approximately 50 children require special school placement in the Dublin region for the coming year, and I'm really confident by the initiatives that are being progressed by the Department and the NCSE that we will deliver the necessary special school placements on both the north and south side of Dublin during the school year. I mentioned Dublin only because the NCSE has assured me that we have placements, appropriate placements for every other child outside of the Dublin county and city. But while these last 2 developments are welcome, we have to do more, and that's why I believe that this new legislation is really, really important. As you know, I announced I was initiating the Section 37A process for the 3rd time in relation to the provision of special class places at primary and special school places in the Dublin region. And as I said before, I felt like that there was no other choice but to take substantive action, and I believe it's a necessary step to try and ensure that every child gets the supports they need and access to a school placement. Obviously, all parties would prefer to see schools volunteer to provide more places rather than being secured at the back of an order or a direction from the Minister. And I have heard the views of and the contributions from deputies today in terms of resources, which was mentioned on a number of occasions. And it is really important that schools get the resources from the Department and the NCSE in order to be able to open special classes. And I will be making sure that that is done. I am particularly glad to see the provision in the new Section 37A provided for in this bill that ensures that any work carried out by the NCSE in preparing a report under the existing Section 37A process can carry forward and be regarded as a report for the purposes of the new Section 37A. The Section 37 process is one of the tools available to me as Minister for Special Education to ensure that adequate, suitable education provision is made for children with special needs, and it is not a substitute for advanced planning. And I'm also glad to include Section 67 of the Education Act within the bill, and this provides a power to the NCSE to designate a school place for an individual child in a special class or a special school. So for me, it makes complete sense to commence Section 67, as it is the NCSE who know about the students who need special school and special class places the most, and they've already worked with the schools directly to open these places. Deputies have also mentioned the support available to schools who do open a special class, and I've mentioned that as well, where schools open a new special class. The Department's Planning and Building Unit can arrange a technical site visit to these schools as appropriate to confirm the suitability of the classroom to support the establishment of special classes. Additional staff are sanctioned in respect of new classes as well. So there's generally, as we know, 1 teacher and 2 SNAs at primary and 1.5 teachers and 2 SNAs at post-primary for each new class. And in addition, the NCSE provide a range of support to schools who open new special classes, including a seminar for principals, a 4-day intensive training course for teachers, a 2-day training course for new teachers, a whole staff training, and of course the school is linked with an NCSE advisor also. So this legislation is of immediate benefit in the short term in relation to the provision of places for September 2022. And again, I want to conclude by thanking every deputy who contributed to today's debate and for sharing their views on this important piece of legislation. No doubt these debates will continue as the bill progresses onto the committee stage next week. And I also want to thank stakeholders and indeed the Special Education Consultative Forum in particular, that's made up of parents and advocacy groups who are working with the department to ensure that children with special education needs can access education placements appropriate to their needs. And I'm very aware that listening to the voice of parents and those representing children with disabilities is essential to ensure that what we deliver meets the needs of the children. So I look forward to seeing this urgent legislation progressing over the coming weeks, being enacted and being available as another measure to ensure that we can continue to work to forward plan and provide an adequate number of special class and special school places for children.
Minister, thank you.